Yo, what's up YouTube? James Baek here, and today I'm going to be going over my first draft league team. Yes, I am competing in my first ever singles draft league, and I thought I would introduce myself for anyone who is new to my channel if you have discovered me through the WBE or through singles content. So my name is James Baek. I am a VGC competitor mainly, which is the doubles competitive format of Pokemon. And I was able to get top 4 at the World Championship in 2019, as well as win an international championship, multiple regional wins. And yeah, I don't really play singles, so today should be a very fun, exciting time. So yeah, I always really want to try a singles draft league. If you're wondering why I chose the singles division over the VGC division that the WB has introduced this year, it's because I always want to try the singles division. I've seen a lot of YouTubers such as A-Drive, Pokeaim, MD, MV, and I really always just enjoyed watching the draft league because I thought it was like one of the most fun things to watch during competitive battles for singles, at least from my experience, was watching like draft leagues and seeing how they were able to innovate. And I thought it was a really fun concept, and I always wanted to play in one. So when they were announcing they were looking for coaches for the singles division, I was super excited. I really want to compete with some of the singles players because I compete against VGC players a lot, obviously, since it is, you know, the main focus of my channel, the main thing I do competitively. But I always really want to try my hands in singles, especially since I haven't really touched Gen 8 singles at all. I've only touched Gen 8 singles once, and that was like the stadium ladder on like one stream for like maybe like 2 hours. So I really want to try out Gen 8 singles in some sort of fashion, and since they invited me to compete in the singles division for the WBE, I thought, you know, this might be the golden opportunity, you know, try something different. And yeah, we'll see how this goes. So I get to compete against some of the top singles creators or Pokemon singles creators, and yeah, it should be exciting because I always do like playing singles. Sometimes in my free time I really do like playing Ranbats. I used to play a lot more singles back in Generation 6 for fun, but I haven't really done so recently. So I thought, you know what, I might as well just test it out and see how it goes. So yeah, that's why I'm doing the singles division for anyone who is wondering if I'm not competing in the VGC division. And yeah, I thought it'd be a lot of fun. So you know what, let's just get into the draft picks that I chose. So the first draft pick that I chose, so I was actually number 6 in the draft. So there's 16 people in the draft league and it goes by order. So I was number 6 for the slot, and most of us, we were picking our top tier Pokemon picks for the draft league. And the Pokemon I really wanted were basically picked. They were Zeraora, Dragapult, and Clefairy, which I thought were basically the top 3 mons I really wanted, especially Zeraora, since I never get to use it because I play VGC. I never get to use Zeraora, but that was picked already. So I was like, okay, I can't use Dragapult either. Dragapult would have been really nice because it's super flexible. So was Clef, just Wish Pass, Teleport, as well as like Calm Mind, Unaware, and a bunch of other stuff that like Clef can do is insane. So those were the 3 I wanted, and they weren't picked. So I was like, okay, I probably should pick an S tier and probably focus around that. And I wanted a flexible mon. So the 3 ones I was looking at that were remaining for the high S tier were Excadrill, Corviknight, and the Necrozma. So I was looking at the 3 options. So I thought Necrozma was super cool because again, it's a Pokemon that I never get to really use in VGC. I mean, I used Ultra Necrozma back in 2019, but I never really used the regular Necrozma because it's not really that good in doubles. So I was looking at those 3. I thought Necrozma was a Pokemon that I thought I could use, but I just was looking at its utility. It does get a lot of versatility. Like you could run so many sets like Calm Mind. You could just go with Stealth Rocks. You could go Swords Dance, Weakness Policy. I think it's Autonomized. I'm pretty sure the speed boosting one. No, it's Rock Polish, I think. But I just wasn't a huge fan of its all-around move coverage with the sweep options. It does get some pretty good ones like Heat Wave. Obviously, Photon Guys is pretty strong, but I just felt like it was very limited in the ways it could hit because the coverage was great, but it wasn't like fantastic in my opinion. That I felt like it was like super versatile enough for me that I could justify picking it as my S tier. So there was Excadrill and Corviknight. Excadrill could run a lot: Mold Breaker, Sand Rush, even Sand Force. All his abilities are pretty good, especially with its ground coverage. And you know, ground types are super good in any format because of the fact it just hits super hard. And I could run stuff like, you know, Gravity next to it. I could just run the Mold Breaker. It can be a rapid spinner, which is pretty nice. Steel type is amazing. Having a good steel type I think is really crucial, which is why I think having Excadrill or Corviknight was pretty good for the start. I thought about like Excadrill, it could be a rock setter, it could be a rapid spin user, it could be a Swords Dance user, it could be a choice band user. I could even go Scarf in some cases. So I really thought about between Excadrill and Corviknight, but the reason I chose Corviknight is because of how versatile I think it's in singles. So I was looking at like usage stats from OU, since obviously I don't really play too much singles in general. So I was like, okay, I want Pokemon that does really well in OU, and I want to look. So I looked at the draft league. Obviously draft league and OU is completely different, but I wanted to look at some of the differences. So if you don't know, some of the Pokemon were banned in the draft league, which you might have seen in OU, which might have been banned now because it's been a little bit. But there were a few Pokemon that were obviously banned. Libero Cinderace, which I thought was absolutely huge. Although Corviknight wasn't that high in usage compared to like previous months, I thought Corviknight would be really good because Libero Cinderace banned. A very big Corviknight answer in my opinion. There was Dracovish, which Corviknight can kind of struggle against. It does have some, you know, I could run an Iron Defense set, but Dracovish is banned. It's nice. Mew was banned. And I thought, okay, Corviknight kind of seems like way more opened up because of the fact just Cinderace is banned in general. And only one person can run Rotom Heat in the draft league because only one person can get Rotom Heat, right? So I was like, okay, Corviknight could actually do really well, especially since it's super versatile. And I could run an Iron Defense set with like Body Press. I could run a Bulk Up set if I want to go more offensive. I could go Agility too. So I could go like Dual Sweep. I could go with like just standard Defog, Roost, Recovery. I could go for like just multiple sets. I've used Assault Vest Corviknight in VTC before and it was super fun. I could go Choice Scarf if I really want to. Probably not the case, but I thought like Corviknight is really good, especially with its abilities pressure to stall out like some of the more powerful moves, especially like if they want to try to click Hydro Pump a few times, for instance, or Draco Meteor. I could usually just like PowerPoint stall with Corviknight, and then I wouldn't have to worry about those moves, which I think is really cool. Mirror Armor is also a really good ability because of the fact that I can just, I could reduce stat drops, and that's pretty crucial, especially like against Intimidate mods if I want to go set up with my Corviknight for like a Bulk Up sweep or like an Iron Defense sweep. So I thought overall that Corviknight was extremely good in draft league, so I ended up leaning towards Corviknight, and that's what I picked because I think having a defogger right away is like really crucial, especially in Hazard. I don't know how much hazards are going to be set up in draft league because I'm not exactly too sure, but I thought, you know, having a hazard removal is pretty nice. Having that steel typing is really cool. Having a ground immunity is awesome already with its flying type. So I thought overall Corviknight had all the options I wanted, and I thought it was probably the best pick I was going to get out of the remaining Pokemon of the S tier. So I chose Corviknight as my first pick. So the second Pokemon I chose after Corviknight, so we had the next S tier. There were technically two S tiers. This was the lower S tier, and out of the Pokemon I really wanted, there wasn't really so much that I exactly wanted, and I was trying to figure out what exactly did I kind of want to lead directions towards. So I was looking at the Pokemon, and I really just like looked at Conkeldurr because I thought Conkeldurr was super good because of the fact that I could run probably quite a few sets. It gets a really good amount of coverage. It just is pretty bulky overall. It can take hits. It can deal a massive amount of damage with its base. What I think it's 140, or I think it's 140. It might be 145, but I'm pretty sure it's 140 attack stat. It's not that fast, which I think is like okay, but I think it's just like really hard hitting, which I think is really nice. And unlike VTC, I don't have to worry about like max airstream being a thing. So Conkeldurr is probably a bit more freed up and can just do a lot. I could run a Bulk Up set. I could run Iron Fist Life Orb like the common VTC set. I could run a standard Guts Flame Orb. I could be like a Wall Breaker, which is pretty nice. I think overall that Conkeldurr just had a lot of options, especially since I can use previous move tutor moves. I could run Knockoff on Conkeldurr, and running Knockoff would be absolutely fantastic because obviously it doesn't get it in Gen 8 VTC. So I thought Conkeldurr had pretty good coverage overall. It could be a great wall breaker, and I felt like having a wall breaker is like really important, especially on any kind of team, because Corviknight is more of a defensive mon. It's going to take time to set up. Can't really wall break, or at least right away, and it could obviously be prone to like a bunch of things like Willis Burn. But Conkeldurr is a Pokemon that's hard to, you know, slow down because of its huge attack stat. Obviously they don't have like two slots, so they don't have to switch and Intimidate Mon, and then Conkeldurr doesn't do as much damage. But even then, Conkeldurr will still hit hard even through Intimidate, and yeah, it just does a lot of damage. Has priority Mach Punch, which I like. Has Defog as another option, so I have two hazard removals. Gets Drain Punch for recovery, which I thought close combat's really cool tech. And yeah, I just thought Conkeldurr had a lot of options and good damage output, good bulk. Thought it really fit well for my team, especially since after Corviknight I decided on a direction. And I thought, okay, with the direction I currently had, I didn't exactly have a great wall breaker. So I thought, okay, Conkeldurr is probably one of my favorite picks here. So I chose Conkeldurr in the end. So my next pick was Rotom-Wash. So this was the A tier, I believe. So we had 2 picks. I think if I remember correctly, Joey got Slowbro, if I remember correctly. If not, I think I just ended up not choosing Slowbro. I think the reason is I wanted either Slowbro or Primarina. I was thinking about Primarina because I definitely wanted a good water type, I think, overall, because I think having just water coverage, you know, just for the fire types to handle Corviknight is really amazing. And I was thinking of the options, and Primarina seemed pretty okay, but I had actually planned on choosing Clefairy in the late parts of the draft when I could grab it. So I was thinking, do I really want dual fairy coverage? And yeah, I lean towards no dual fairy coverage because I thought like I could balance my team even better without choosing it. So since I wasn't able to pick Zeraora, I was like, you know, Rotom-Wash might actually be super good. It does get a lot of versatility, probably not as great as it is in VTC, but Rotom-Wash is still pretty good, I think, because even though I'm forced to run Hydro Pump, it does get some pretty good options. It does get Nasty Plot in this generation, which I really like. Nasty Plot just setup could be really cool, even without a Dynamax in WB. If you don't know, in WBE, it is banned. So I thought, you know, Rotom-Wash could be really good because of Nasty Plot. It can run a bulky set. I could run screens with Volt Switch, for instance. I could run Choice Scarf. It can abuse Choice Specs pretty well. And it's another defog user, which, you know, getting rid of hazards is pretty nice overall. So I felt like Rotom could run a bunch of different sets. It's pretty versatile. Covers my Corviknight really well because having that water coverage to handle like the fire types I thought was really good, especially since Rotom-Wash is a bit of a bulky one. I thought about Slowbro. I think I just leaned towards it because I thought it was too bulky, even though I really wanted Slowbro to try it out with Teleport because I think Teleport Regenerate is crazy. I thought Rotom-Wash just overall fit my team better. I'm not sure if like, I know Joey got Slowbro. I don't remember if he picked before me. I think he might have got the Slowbro before me, but I'm not completely sure. But yeah, Rotom-Wash was a very fine pick for me, I think, because of like all the good options. I can make it defensive, I can make it offensive, it can be fast, you know, it's got pretty decent speed here overall. So I thought, okay, I think it's pretty good to start things off. And yeah, I just ended up choosing Rotom-Wash, and yeah, it just has a bunch of options and can cover my Corviknight's weaknesses really well, I felt, overall. So next is Amoonguss. So Amoonguss was my 4th pick in A tier. I keep forgetting that we have tier 1, tier 2, tier 3. It was different on the Google Doc, and I actually used the Google Doc to plan out my choices. But yeah, so we have Amoonguss here, and I felt Amoonguss was definitely a Pokemon I was going to pick when I got the Corviknight, because I felt like Regenerate is just super good. I didn't want Tangrowth specifically because I feel like Amoonguss is probably more comfortable. You know, Amoonguss is one of my general favorite Pokemon probably to use in competitive doubles. At least I did get top 4 at the World Championship with it, and I know how good Regenerate is in both singles and doubles. So you know, Amoonguss is super solid. Of course, the only problem with Amoonguss in this generation, I cannot run Hidden Power because no Hidden Power is available. So that kind of sucks because it makes Amoonguss more wall to certain Pokemon. But overall, I think Regenerate just makes it so good. Option for Spore is incredible. I know there is Sleep Claws, but I felt like overall could be super solid. Can run Stun Spore as well. Can run quite a few different things. I could run Toxic as well if I really think about it. And I think it's just a really good pivot. Can help against, like, I don't know if anyone in Draft League really runs Hard Trick Room, but if they do, it's an option that I have for Amoonguss because Amoonguss can kind of wall out Hard Trick Room. And yeah, I think it's just a really solid option. It has really good options in recovery too. I could run Synthesis on it. Poison and grass coverage is actually pretty solid. And yeah, it does get some pretty interesting options. I think I could even run like Assault Vest, for instance. I could run probably Choice Specs. I probably lean towards away, but you know, maybe I think about it in a certain situation could be useful. It gets access to like Foul Play and Stomping Tantrum, which I think is super solid as coverage moves. And yeah, it just, I think, has a lot of status options and is great as a pivot. I think Amoonguss is really good as a pivot. I remember watching a lot of plays. I think it was Wolf and some others that used Amoonguss and used it really well as a pivot mon. And I felt like, yeah, I definitely could use it on this team. I think it does give me another fire weak, but I do have ways to cover at least its flying weakness with my Rotom-Wash and Corviknight. And yeah, I felt like overall Amoonguss would be a really welcome pick overall. So yeah, So my fifth pick was Umbreon, and the reason I wanted Umbreon is because of a few things. One, I felt my team was super weak to Ghost, and I really like Umbreon because of its defensive pure Dark typing, which just allows me to switch into Ghost types, allows me to switch into Dark types pretty well, and I felt like that was always welcomed. Two, it had Wish Pass, which I felt could be really good because, you know, my team's already bulky. It's not the fastest though, so they might be taking some hard hits. So I thought, okay, what if I gave Wish Pass support, because it can benefit pretty much all my Pokemon, and I've, you know, Wish is always good. Heal Pell is another option. It's another slow mon, which this generation's not really that fast. I feel like it's really hard to get fast mons, and I felt like Umbreon just was super solid because of the resistances and immunities to Psychic, which was pretty cool, as well as like it's super bulky, which I absolutely love. I've seen some of my friends use Umbreon actually in a VGC draft, and it does get some options. I can run like standard Wish Pass support. Baton Pass is really cool because it's not a teleport, but Umbreon's not exactly the fastest Pokemon, so I could usually maybe get like a slow pivot out, especially for like the Wish support. I can run like a Curse set because Umbreon does get Curse, which is kind of cool in case I think my opponent's team really can't handle Umbreon, which I think it could be like really solid. It does get an option to like Moonlight for additional recovery because I could pair it with like, I don't know, Sunny Day, which is definitely an option. And yeah, I just felt like Umbreon pure dark coverage, I felt like it was the best dark type I was going to get. I didn't want like Pokemon like Drapion, for instance, because I already had a Amoonguss, and I felt like Umbreon just like really bulky, really tanky, and I really wanted those immunities to Ghost and Dark because I think those are like two of the most threatening types to deal with in any kind of format. So I definitely want to switch in, and I think Umbreon's really good, especially like, you know, against Pokemon like Dragapult, for instance, where Umbreon can take the attacks pretty well and just heal up. And yeah, I mean, this thing has really good defenses, can Toxic Stall if I want to, Foul Play if they try to set up on me, could go offensive. I think it just gets a lot of good options that I think I really am glad with picking Umbreon because I feel like it just generally balances out my team really well. And, you know, again, Wish support as well as that Dark typing, super solid on this team. So the sixth Pokemon, which was another tier 4 because we got multiple tier 4s, was Rhyperior. So I was debating about this super heavily. I was choosing whether I wanted Rhyperior or Piloswine, and I think those were the two I was mainly going for. So I wanted a ground type because obviously I wasn't able to pick up Excadrill since I chose Corviknight, and I really wanted a ground type because one, my electric coverage or my switches to electric aren't exactly amazing. The only one that really does well is of course Amoonguss, but I felt like I wanted the Rhyperior over Piloswine. I like there was two really good Pokemon, Rhyperior and Piloswine, which I think are both really good in Draft League. And Piloswine was super tempting just because I've seen a lot of previous WBE matches and I've seen Piloswine do a lot of work. I chose Rhyperior, I think, because of its more versatility. I think Piloswine, you know, it's going to be bulky for most of the case, and I'm not a huge fan of the ice coverage because I was actually thinking of something coming up that I might have wanted to save the ice coverage for. So I was like, okay, I'll go Rhyperior instead. Now, I normally actually decide, I try to lean away towards picking up 4 times weak Pokemon in like a draft league setting because I actually played a doubles draft league. It was a VGC draft league with friends, and I had like really solid team for the most part, but the problem was most of them had 4 times weaknesses and they just abused the heck out of that. So I usually try to stay away, which is kind of why I was leaning towards Piloswine, but at the end I chose Rhyperior because I think it had a lot of options. I think Stealth Rocks was a big thing. I definitely wanted some kind of form of Stealth Rocks for hazards, and I definitely felt like Rhyperior could be really well because it could run a lot of different sets, and it does get a lot of decent coverage, which is always welcome. So even if it's 4 times weak to grass and water, I also have the Solid Rock ability as an option, which I thought is, you know, pretty good, as it is, you know, it's not going to take the attack super well, but 75% of the super effective move isn't bad. So we have Rhyperior. I could run Weakness Policy on it with like Rock Polish. I could run Swords Dance on it. I could run just standard Stealth Rocks, bulky set as a tank. I could run it with Leftovers. I could run it with Choice Band if I really want to, because it does get some pretty good coverage. I could run it with Assault Vest since I do have Wish Pass support. Like Assault Vest Rhyperior might be able to tank attacks and just do a lot of damage overall. And yeah, it just seemed a really solid Pokemon because they have to be scared of potential Weakness Policy sweeping them as well. It's not like VDC Rhyperior with sweep, but like, hey, it might not be that bad here, especially with its good ground type, like it has a really high attack and defense stat, so I was really happy with Rhyperior because it can just do a lot of damage. And again, it's not that bad with the rock polish if I do want to go in that fast mode. And I ended up choosing Rhyperior as my 6th choice, and I felt like it did fit the team pretty well overall. So we had to pick 4 Pokemon from tier 4, and I really wasn't liking the options from tier 4. I really didn't, and I actually liked a lot of the Pokemon from tier 5, so I couldn't really decide anything I wanted from tier 4. So I decided, hey, I'm going to move my strategy to tier 5 instead and pick up some of the Pokemon that, you know, while the others are mainly choosing from like tier 4 right at this moment. I thought, okay, I'll sneak into tier 5 and grab some of the picks early because I really didn't like much from tier 4. So I thought, okay, what was my team lacking? Speed. Because if you notice, Rotom-Wash is the only kind of fast Pokemon, and it's not even that fast. It's 85, which is actually, or 87. It's one of the two. And I thought, okay, so as you know, Gen 8 doesn't really have the fastest speed tier. It's actually pretty slow in general. And yeah, I felt, you know, as Draft League, they aren't able to pick as many high speed tier Pokemon. I thought, you know, it's always good to have a Pokemon that's at least higher than base 100. So I ended up choosing Froslass here, and I thought Froslass was like a Pokemon I felt like could really fit the team. The reason is, again, since I didn't choose Piloswine, I could go this Froslass mode and have that ice coverage and don't have like super shared weaknesses with Froslass and Piloswine. The second one was the ghost coverage. Is Froslass, it's not exactly the best attacker. I think it's actually base 80 in both attack and special attack. So, you know, I could choose a physical or a special one. I'm leaning towards the special one. I wish this thing got freeze dry. If it got freeze dry, it'd be amazing. But right here, I thought, okay, having a ghost type, an offensive ghost type, is really cool because, you know, ghost is one of the best coverages in the game. And I felt like, you know, having a fast ghost type that can maybe sweep up endgame is super good. And I felt, yeah, Froslass could definitely do that. I also really liked having a special attacker because my only 2 special attackers really were Rotom-Wash and Amoonguss. I guess I could run maybe special Umbreon in like certain situations, but overall I felt like just having a special attacker could just be more beneficial to my team. So I ended up choosing Froslass because, you know, I could go spec Shadow Ball, sweep in endgame. Choice Scarf can make it really fast and just outspeed certain threats. And yeah, I felt like it was overall pretty solid. It gets new tools in the Isle of Armor with Poltergeist and Triple Axle, I believe the move is called. And, you know, it could do a decent amount, maybe if it's Choice Band or Life Orb. I also have options to like a fast Taunt user, a very nice Spike user. Overall, I could Destiny Bond with this Pokemon. I felt like the Froslass just gave me quite a few options. And even though it's like very frail, I felt like just the team, my team is just bulky in general. And I felt like usually I would probably use Froslass for maybe some kind of like offensive sweep or hazard setter if I think their team's really weak to hazards. So overall, I felt like Froslass was a good pick. I think having a Pokemon just over 100 was like really beneficial since, again, my team was super slow. Just having that speedier option, I think, is just really good because it always just like makes my opponents think or concerned about speed tiers because, you know, if they have fast Pokemon, they could try to EV the Pokemon bulkier because they don't outspeed me as much. But Froslass can kind of change their mind on that because Froslass can be a threat. It can do some damage, and I'm hoping to prove that in the draft. So I went back to tier 4 because I felt like no one was picking this mon, and I thought, okay, since my draft is still really slow, I would like maybe a Pokemon that's, you know, I would like some fast Pokemon. I thought, okay, maybe I could pick up something fast from tier 4 because there weren't many fast picks from tier 5, if I remember correctly, that like synergized with my team. And I thought I wasn't going to pick this mon at all originally, but I thought since it's like one of the fastest Pokemon, and, you know, Libero Cinderace was banned from the draft league, but Libero Raboot wasn't. So we ended up choosing Raboot here, and I felt like overall Raboot could, you know, do some work. I felt like overall I wasn't planning on picking this as my fire Pokemon. I actually had a different fire Pokemon in mind when I chose my draft, so I wasn't originally just like a key fan of picking up this mon. So overall, I felt like Raboot was actually going to be pretty good just because like Libero allowing to change typing, which is really cool. Basically a mini Cinderace. It's actually pretty fast. It's like 90 something. I don't remember the exact speed. I'll look it up, of course, when I'm planning for the actual games. But overall, Raboot was pretty solid. I've seen this Pokemon do work in draft league. Couldn't run Choice Band or Choice Scarf. Life Orb can hit super hard. And yeah, it's not exactly the bulkiest Pokemon. It's more of a glass cannon kind of Pokemon. But overall, I felt like it was just something that could help because I needed more like late game sweepers or just offensive fast sweepers in general, because I felt, again, my team was a bit too slow. And yeah, Raboot does have some options, of course, like in Flare Blitz, Sucker Punch, High Jump Kick, and you know, it does get U-turn, which is really nice for pivoting. And overall, I felt like Raboot could do some work, especially during in my draft, because I could definitely set up for it potentially, and I have really good pivots for it in general. And I do have like Volt Switch and U-turn to get in Raboot pretty safely and just start doing damage. So I felt like Raboot was like okay for my draft, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna choose Raboot. So if you don't know me from my VGC history, Clefairy is actually one of my favorite Pokemon of all time. Actually, it is a Pokemon that's really close to my heart because it got me second at my first Masters Regionals top cut. It got me it was just a Pokemon that actually I was able to win my first regional championship with, and I just really love Follow Me Clefairy in doubles. Obviously just singles and Follow Me isn't that great, but overall I felt like Clefairy was a good pick, and I felt like it was a really good pick for tier 5, especially with the options it has. It's a mini Clefable, and obviously Clefable was actually the first pick Pokemon, I believe, of the draft, so you couldn't get Clefable, and I really wanted a fairy type, obviously, and I had plans to pick up Clefairy once I picked up Corviknight. Like when I couldn't get Clefable, I'm like, okay, I'm definitely gonna grab Clefairy if I can. So I ended up choosing Clefairy. There were some I was debating about. It was between Clefairy and a Romantis, and the reason I chose Clefairy was because even though Romantis was technically a better wish passer sometimes with like a higher HP stat, so it can pass more HP, I felt like Wish Clef was better. It does have access to teleport. It does have like Calm Minds, and I believe it got like Seismic Toss in previous generation, which could be like really good. Stealth Rocks, of course. And I felt like overall that Clefairy could just definitely put in some work, especially since it still gets access to the Magic Art ability. Overall, I felt like Clefairy was a good pick. It could be a nice pivot overall. I felt like it was better than Togetic, because I was thinking about Togetic too, but I don't know. I felt like Clefairy was definitely better as an option. It definitely gets better coverage too. Clefairy definitely does get some better coverage. And yeah, I just felt like it was a good utility. I think Clefairy is really good on this team. Again, having that fairy coverage, I could go offensive if I really want to. And I might actually, because I have used offensive Clefairy before. And yeah, I felt like just having that fairy coverage is just really nice, because fairy is a really good typing, both offensively and defensively. So I thought, you know what, I'll pick Clefairy. It has the options with which to be bulkier, so I have a second Wish Pass user in case I can't bring Umbreon into like one of my weeks, and I could go Clefairy. And you know, I still have a lot of options with this. This has good coverage, has good setup, and I felt like it was just a steal for tier 5. So yeah, ended up choosing one of my favorite Pokemon, and we'll see how well it does. So this is where I think my draft started to get a little bit shaky. I felt like my draft was super good in general. I think the last two picks were weird. So my initial thought process, so this Pokemon was actually never listed as a tier. It was actually like lower than tier 5. So that meant like it was going to be counted as a tier 5 mon if I chose this mon, and it wasn't on the list. And I thought, you know, I think in theory this was pretty good. The reason I chose Torracat is because one, I have used this Pokemon in VGC, and you know, it's not that bad of a Pokemon. So it does have the access to an Intimidate ability, which I think my team really likes, having that Intimidate pressure. It has U-turn and Parting Shot, which I think is really cool with the fast speed. Like Torracat again is another fast Pokemon. It's base 90, which is actually pretty nice. Having the fire coverage I think is really good against Swords Dance and Nasty Plot, I believe, this generation. So you know, I could go it. It doesn't have the best coverage though, and of course a pure fire type isn't that bad. This was the main fire type I was going to pick. I wasn't actually going to choose Raboot, but I felt like Torracat was actually pretty good because of fast taunt, pivoting. And you know, it doesn't have recovery, and it's not the bulkiest Pokemon. It can help with Violet and Wish Pass, which I thought, you know, Torracat can like abuse, because I could always like parting out, taunt, I could U-turn out into like the Wish Passer and keep cycling in the Intimidates, which I thought was like pretty solid. And you know, it doesn't have the worst attack stats, so I thought, you know, Torracat could be pretty good. I'm not sure how it is now looking back at it. I do think I still believe in Torracat. It does have some options. But yeah, I definitely thought this was a Pokemon that probably can do well depending on the situation. I don't think it was the worst pick for me. I definitely wanted a pure fire type, especially a defensive fire type, because I originally really wanted to get Arcanine. Arcanine was a Pokemon I really wanted, but yeah, I wasn't able to get Arcanine. So I thought, okay, I can't get Incineroar either, because I think Arcanine was actually one of the Pokemon that was sniped from me. I really wanted to get Arcanine. I think Arcanine was want to say Arcanine was tier 4 if I remember correctly. So I really wanted to get Arcanine because I really wanted to teleport. So when I couldn't get Arcanine, I was like, okay, what's the next best option? And I felt like the closest fire type option I was going to get to Arcanine was going to be Torracat because of the option for like pivoting and intimidate as well. And I could use the wish pass as a way to recover. So, and that's the main reason I chose Torracat as my next pick. All right, the final pick of my draft, and this one really I just didn't like any tier 4 mon. I didn't really like any of the remaining tier 4 Pokemon. It just, again, I didn't really like tier 4 that much, so I was like, okay, what can I really add to my team that out of the remaining Pokemon could be useful? And I felt like coverage wise I was like pretty much set on what I needed, and I was like, okay, maybe what utilities can I use? And I thought, okay, even though I have like a bunch of defog users, I might not want to click defog all the time because I do have my own hazards. So I thought, okay, maybe I'll choose a rapid spinner, and there aren't many Pokemon to get rapid spinner. Actually, it's like really tough to actually get a rapid spinner in this generation, and most of the rapid spinners were already picked. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna choose the last one that I think can be useful. That was Delmise. So I chose Delmise here. And it is repeat coverage, which I'm not exactly happy about. There was repeat coverage with Amoonguss as grass type and Froslass with the ghost type. It is a rapid spin immunity though, which I don't think is that bad. And I felt like Delmise, it's not exactly the best Pokemon, but you know, rapid spinner has pretty high attack stat, has pretty decent defenses overall. Felt like, you know, it could fit on my team because I might not always bring Amoonguss. I might not always bring Amoonguss in battle, so I thought, you know, having that option in Delmise I thought could be really cool again with the rapid spin. And you know, it gives me 3 stabs, it gives me steel, gives me grass, and gives me ghost, and I felt like Delmise could definitely put in some work. I thought Delmise could be used as a rapid spinner. It's actually pretty good offensively. It does get some pretty good coverage with like Poltergeist, Power Whip. I think it gets Earthquake. Yeah, it should be able to get Earthquake. I felt like it just could do well. I felt it was like I didn't need this Pokemon, but I thought, you know, just having that option for a rapid spinner on my team if I do need that rapid spin option, as well as a spin blocker, which is always nice, could be useful. So I ended up choosing Delmise, and yeah, that's ended up being the final draft. Was I happy about it? I was pretty happy for the most part. I really wanted to grab Arcanine. I think if I grabbed Arcanine, the draft would have been, oh man, it would have been like, oh, amazing. And I could have probably picked another tier 5 mon, which I really liked a lot of the mons from tier 5 actually. But overall, I felt like the draft was super solid. I didn't really snipe too much at all. I think the only snipes were again like the first round, which, you know, out of control, and then the Arcanine grab, which was grabbed pretty early actually. So wasn't able to grab Arcanine. I think it was in tier 4. At least I'm pretty sure it was in tier 4. I don't think it was in tier 3. I think it was in tier 4. And if I was able to grab Arcanine, oh boy, you bet I would have grabbed it. I would have definitely grabbed the Arcanine. But yeah, I felt like overall my draft was super solid. I'm really a fan of it. The only thing is I do think the team is a little bit slow. I think I would have actually tried to grab Espeon earlier if I knew about it, because I kind of forgot Espeon was in tier 4. So I think I could have grabbed Espeon. Magic Bounce would have been really good for this team overall because it denies hazards. It's also a really fast mon, so I thought, okay, I didn't realize Espeon could have been there, but I could have tried to grab it because I think I had an opportunity to, but I just completely didn't see it, so I completely passed it. And then unfortunately when I saw it grabbed, I'm like, oh, that was in this tier. But overall I felt like really I just got everything that I basically wanted. The first solid picks I think from Corviknight to Rhyperior were super solid. I really liked Clefairy and the Froslass. Not sure about the others, but overall I felt like it was pretty good fillers, and they do put in, you know, certain roles to my team, and I felt like overall I think the draft is super solid. I'm not exactly sure, again, it is my first draft league, so not exactly too sure of like how well I did as a draft pick, but overall I felt like the team is pretty solid, and I'm looking forward to playing with it and looking forward to WBE. So I do hope you enjoyed today's analysis of the WBE. If you want to check out my other stuff, you could always go check it out, as well as my VGC content, which is the main thing I do here. We'll be trying out some singles. We'll see how this goes. I'm hoping to do well and hoping to at least go even. My goal is not to go negative. That's basically what the goal is. I really want to have some fun with the WBE. I think it's a really cool experience that I got, and I really do want to thank like A-Drive and Joey for picking me up for the singles division. So yeah, hope everyone enjoyed it. That's my draft league analysis of the team. If you did enjoy it, please leave a like down below, show support, as well as comment how you would rate my draft, because go easy on me. I don't think I'm like the most experienced. Obviously, this is my first draft league, and I actually picked all the mons myself. So probably should have asked some of my singles friends to help me with that. But you know, what's done is done. So yeah, that is going to be it from me. We're looking forward to the WBE. Maybe we can make it to playoffs, maybe not. Let me know if you're rooting for the Jubilife Piplups down below. But yeah, thank you all for tuning in. Have a great day, people. Until we bow again, I'll catch y'all later.